support is a huge thing. Yeah, everyone wants to make a bunch of money, wants a huge split, but if someone offers you a 90% split but zero support, you're better off taking a 70, 75% with all of their support because
Right.
you'll make more money in the long run.
Hey, everybody, James Shepard here with another edition of the Merchant Sales Podcast. Excited today to dive back in with someone who has been on the front lines selling payment processing, got into the industry not that long ago, got off to a really fast start, and then transitioned over into recruiting and managing a team. And so a lot of really frontline information today on merchant sales with Robert Finella. And then after that, we have of course, some sales tips from Rich Norton, who joins us pretty much each week. And then we follow that up with Patty Murphy telling us an update about some of the fraud issues going on with Zelle and kind of the P2P payments world. As usual, this podcast is brought to you by Nativia. You can learn more about our sponsor by heading over to ccsalespro.com/Nativia, ccsalespro.com/Nativia. With that being said, let's dive into this interview today. Hey, everybody. I'm here today with Robert Finella, who is the CSO at Optech Payments. How are you doing today, Robert?
I'm doing great, James. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. So, Robert, I really appreciate you jumping on and talking with us today. I know you've got a lot of experience in the industry, closing a lot of merchant accounts, but give us your story a little bit. I'm always amazed at how people get into this crazy little niche industry that we have here. So, how did you end up doing what you're doing today?
So back in 2022, I was selling insurance, just phone calling all day, every day to the elderly for Medicare. And then I got reached out to by an ISO, and they were just trying to recruit me because they saw my resume was still up on Indeed. And they said, "Oh, you're in sales. We want to get you over to this industry." They asked me how much I was making. I told them, they go, "Oh, you could easily double that if you're as good as you say you are." And I was the number one agent for the largest Medicare insurance broker in the entire country.
Right,
So I went, that doesn't sound too far-fetched. I know what
right,
I can
right.
do. I know if I
Sure.
go out and work, I can produce.
Right.
And then in February 2023, at the end of February, like the last week, I quit my insurance job and I just went full steam ahead, knocking doors.
Wow.
And the first 2 weeks, it was actually terrible. I was so down in the dumps. I was just thinking, damn, I suck. Maybe I'm not good at sales because no one wanted to talk to me.
Right,
And then
right.
after that, they just randomly started closing, closing, closing. I got like four in 1 week, and then I
Right.
got 14 in 1 month, and I was averaging from the end of February 2023 to late October. And then at like once November hit, I didn't really sell in 2023 because all the
Right.
holidays, and no one
Yeah.
wants to, oh, talk to me after the new year. We all
Right.
know
Sure.
that.
Yes. Yes. We've all heard that one.
I got 65 deals in that time frame.
Wow.
So whatever that average is, I'm not a huge math guy.
Right. That's not a bad average though, especially when you're just getting started out. And so, are you saying was that mostly over the phone, or was that in person, or what was that?
That was all in person.
All in person. Okay.
Yeah, all just some days I would knock 100 doors.
Right. Just walk business to business and get it done. And you're up in was it New Hampshire or somewhere up New England area, right?
Yeah, New Hampshire. New Hampshire, Massachusetts is where I mainly focus, but I have some deals in Maine as well.
Okay. So there might have been other reasons you weren't prospecting in November and December then, weather related.
Yeah, it's a little chilly during that
Uh,
time, like
Yeah,
right
I
now.
bet. I bet. Yeah. All right. So you get started off your first, whatever that is, 7 months or something. You do 65 deals. So you get through November and December, hit the ground running in 2024. What was that like? Were there, you learned a lot and then you switched, or you just kind of kept doing what you were doing? It was already working, or what was the strategy going into 2024?
So 2024 was a big shift because I went from the original ISO I was with because I had some issues with them with my residuals. I switched over to Optech Payments, and I started off as the EVP of sales, and then I recently got promoted to the CSO. So it's
Okay.
a lot more of managing our team, just working my referrals, and
Right.
kind of going for larger deals. Like we have a sister company, HubSpire, that develops apps and websites and software.
Sure.
So whenever we get deals with them, we just automatically get the payments. So we focus a good
Of
amount on
course.
software now too.
Right. Sure. That's really interesting. Okay, we'll definitely want to circle back to that. I want to go back though to the first kind of 7 months. So
Yeah.
back then when you're going to these businesses closing deals, first of all, was there any targeting involved, or was it just kind of like, all right, here's a street, let's go to every single business on the street, right?
The target was if the business was open and I saw someone standing inside, I just went and talked to them.
Right, sure. And when you walked in, what did you say?
A lot of times I would use because I took your training originally with the first ISO. I would just use, oh, I'm with Visa MasterCard, or just go straight into, oh, hey, what point of sale system is that? And then it evolved into, I took a course from Jeremy Miner, his sales training course, seventh level, and that
Okay.
helped a lot. I would go in instead of going straight to a pitch. I would go in acting kind of confused. I would go, hey, I don't know who I'm supposed to talk to, but could you possibly help me out? And then people instantly go into, oh yeah, what can I do to help you? And
Right.
it's more of kind of like almost like I'm a customer instead of a sales guy.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, when you get yourself in the mindset of the customer, it's always going to be better when you're walking in. Like, one of the things I used to always do is I would try to make an excuse for why I was there. So I would say
Yep.
like, yeah, I was actually on my way down the street to visit Susan at the flower shop because she's one of my clients, and I was like, man, I've never even stopped in here before. Like, what do you guys do? And or how long have you been here or whatever? And I would just get into a conversation and then kind of roundabout into the processing. So once if you think about your pitch door to door at its best, cold calling at its best for you, you would go in, you would do some intro, you do the whole like, hey, I need some help to figure out who I'm talking to. How much did you balance kind of like small talk versus like, going into the pitch? Was there anything you found that was helpful at the beginning with small talk and then you transitioned, or you just went right for it, or talk about that a little bit?
So personally, I believe sales isn't a one size fits all. So you got to find your own style. My
Yep.
style was if the small talk was there, I would sprinkle it in. But if the person seemed like they were an A-type personality where they're just get to the
Right.
point,
Right.
I'd just cut the BS and just say, okay, I don't know if I can help you out or not, because they always hear, oh, I can help you, I can save you money, but we don't know until we analyze their statement. They could be on 5 basis points above interchange and 4 cents
Right.
a swipe, and then whatever
Right.
your buy rate is could be higher than that, and then you're screwed if you try and beat that.
Right. Right. Yeah. So
So
so you kind of go in with the idea of, hey, maybe I can help you. And then what was the call to action there? Was it like I need a processing statement, or like what was the actual what were you trying to get on that first visit?
so I would try to get them to say, okay, how would you even help me? I go, normally I get between 1 to 6 months of processing, depending on the risk of their account. Like if it was a Kratom CBD, I'd want more.
Right.
But if it's just like a pizza shop, I could get away with 1 month.
Right.
So I would say, oh, so if you want to move forward, the only thing I do right now doesn't cost you anything. You just print out your statement. You might have it in an envelope in your mail pile, and I'll just analyze that, see what your effective rate is, see what kind of cards come through the door, and see how much lower we could get it. Use a lot of hand gestures.
Right. Right. And then when they give you the statement, do you try to do something on the spot with it? Do you take it back? And I know it's going to probably vary a lot depending on the merchant, but what was your preference?
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head. So depending on how I could tempt them, if they were a little cold, I'd go, okay, sweet, thanks for the statement. Do you mind if I take some pictures? Or if some people just let me keep it. And then
Right.
I'd say, all right, I'll be back in this area next week on Wednesday. Are you going to be around? Or try and find a time where we could actually lock down just a spot for us to talk. And if they're super hot, ready to go, they're already complaining about their rep. Oh, I haven't seen the guy in 2 years. He doesn't even answer when I ask him a question. I don't even know how to order my receipt paper. I don't know what this thing takes. I've just been flying
Right.
blind. I'll just go, all right, straight into it. Because some people I've had them, they just sign that day and then I'm installing at the end of the week.
Right. Okay, cool. So I love that. So let's talk about objections for a minute. So, I'm always interested when I talk to salespeople, their philosophy with this. I'm as a general rule, I kind of, I'll try to overcome some objections. Obviously, at the beginning especially, but I kind of find that I try to put most of my time into establishing a pitch that's smooth that doesn't really encounter as many objections. But what's your feeling on that? What were the most common objections that you would actually overcome where you're like, yeah, that's still a sale versus like were the things people would say where you're kind of like, all right, have a great day. What's your opinion on that?
So I already have a guy. That's a big one. A
Yeah.
lot of times they're just saying that because it's just a knee-jerk reaction, like get out of
Yes.
my store. I already
Right.
have a guy.
Right. What do
So
you say to them? What do you say to that when they say, I already have a guy? What do you say?
I go, oh, that's not a problem. I would hope you could take credit cards and that someone would service the machine. I'm just trying to figure out if there's even anything that could be a problem. Like I was next door. their rate was super high, and I was actually a couple doors down from that. Their rate was high too. It's weird. Like this area, some people just the rates are so much higher. I don't know why. I don't know if you guys have the same rep. Sometimes it would be the same rep. It'd be like, oh yeah, we all use this one guy from the local bank, and he signs us up, and then those guys don't get paid residuals normally. So once they get their first initial payment, they're just like, all right, whatever. I don't care about the account.
Right. And then the bank goes in and says, well, we're giving you an SBA loan, so we'll just keep raising your rate.
Yeah, and they're locked. They're like, oh, I have a
Yeah.
loan and an agreement with the processing. I can't get out.
Right, right. Um, okay. What about closing? So, you get somebody, you feel like, you know what, we all get to this point, I think, in sales where there's this really important moment in the sales process, in my opinion, where you decide they should go with you, right? Like, you know what I mean? Where you really don't know, as you said, at the beginning, you obviously you want to sell everybody, but there's this moment where you're like, okay, this is an obvious choice where I now need to
Yeah.
help them do the right thing, which is go with me because I'm going to help them in some way. So when you get to that point, how do you proceed? How kind of assumptive are you versus like questioning, or like any thoughts on closing the sale and wrapping it up?
So a lot of times I will be assumptive where I just go straight into it. Like you don't even ask for permission. You just start going, oh, what's the DBA? What is that the same as the legal? And then if they stop you anywhere in there, then you just handle whatever their concern is and then move on.
Yeah.
But a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just keep asking the questions so they sell themselves. So okay, you're paying 5 grand a month and we'll switch you to cash discount and now you'll only be paying $40 a month every month. You know your bill. Is that something that would help you out? Like have an extra 5 grand a month? Oh
Right.
yeah, I don't know. I don't see why 5 grand a month in my pocket wouldn't help me out. And okay, do you think how do you think we would proceed from here? What do you think would be any obstacles that would stop us from implementing this? Oh, I don't know. I think I have a 2 year agreement. I really like this machine. It's Deja Vu's been the greatest for me. And I go, oh, okay, Deja Vu. So you'd wanna stick with Deja Vu if that's a possibility? Oh yeah, absolutely. I go, okay. It's a good thing I work with Deja Vu as well, and then, oh, that agreement, well, we do a free contract review as well. We'll figure out how much it is to get out of it, and then we might even be able to cover that for you. And a lot of people go, huh, okay, maybe we can move forward.
Right. Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like it. I think so. The first one that you did was I like to call that the details close, where you just kind of get right into the details, which I love that one because I think salespeople don't realize that someone's going to stop you. You don't have to ask. Like they'll stop you if they're not ready to move forward. But the fact that
Absolutely.
you're like super confident, I think now you got to be careful. It's like, you don't do that when you can tell the person's still a little bit on the fence because yeah, you are going to push them off on the wrong side of the fence there if they feel like you're being pushy or too or something. But it's like, if you ask some questions and you're both like, well, yeah, obviously this makes sense. We're going to save all this money. This is a great solution. And it's like, okay, great. So let me get started on, I would always say, let me make some notes on the paperwork so I don't forget anything because I have a terrible memory, which is actually true. But I would get out and back then it was literally paperwork, right? So I would get
Yeah.
that out and actually write down like, okay, DBA name and yeah, all that. So, okay, so I love that. Then you have the idea of, asking those questions, the obvious questions, getting the momentum of like 3 yeses maybe is the idea. What was the other one the one you mentioned that I really love. Now I heard this from Dan Locke. I don't know if you got it from the same source, but the one about what should our next step be? Do you like that? You mentioned that one. That's a really good line. I've
I
used that a
don't know
lot.
who Dan Locke is. I forget exact. I think it was either Jeremy Miner, Alex Hormozy, those guys that are big on
Okay.
Instagram with the sales. I think it was one of them that I heard it from,
Yeah.
but
That's a
I'll
really
have to
good
check
one.
out Dan Locke.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, he's kind of a slimy guy, but he's on
Maybe not then.
he's on YouTube. No, he's really good actually. He's a like a high ticket closer is kind of his claim to fame.
Yep.
But yeah, he's kind of a interesting guy. Anyway, you have to see what you think. But that line I like because again, I think a lot of salespeople they get very nervous at the end of the sale, and
Yep.
they don't want to ask for the business. Um, and I think asking that of saying, okay, great. Well, it looks like to me, it looks like this is a great fit. What's the next step in your mind? What do we need to do next? Now where it's tricky, of course, is a lot of times if you don't really have them at that point, you're going to get well, I probably need to take a couple of weeks to think about it and talk to my
Yep.
partner, and then we'll get back. So you do have to be careful. But I think you can kind of tell when somebody's like interested in it, and it's like, what was the other one you said? What'd you say? What would be the barriers or something like that? What was that? That was a
Yeah.
really good one.
What are some obstacles in your mind that would prevent you from taking back $5,000 a month into your business?
I
And if
love
you phrase it like that, they're going, why would I ever put up a barrier?
that.
5 grand a month.
Right, right. Okay. Hey, so you mentioned deja vu a minute ago. When you're out selling in the field, do you have a preference? Any preferred terminals, gateways? I don't know. What do you like on the tech side?
If it's just a standard card reader, Deja Vu all the way, I don't think I've ever had one issue with them since starting. They
Wow.
never go down, they're always up. Valor's good too, it's just they go down sometimes but it happens. Some people
Yeah.
understand that. My merchants go, it's technology. Like my phone
Right.
goes down sometimes too. It is what it is. But other people get livid just because, I don't know, they just want
Right.
something to complain about. So if it's standard pin pad, Deja Vu, I really like their P series. The P1's very clean, easy to
Yeah, it is.
use.
Yep.
And then I place a good amount of Clover. And then I've been working with Quick POS out of Texas. They're insanely good customer service.
Okay.
I have a dedicated rep when I need to get a demo. She's always there when it's not a holiday. She's like answering my emails within 30 minutes to an hour max. And then if I don't answer her, she just calls me. So
Right.
they're great down there. I'd highly recommend working with them too.
Cool. What about, let's talk about other vendors. So you mentioned at the beginning, kind of alluded to the fact that maybe there were some disagreements on residual and things like that. But I guess I'm asking like two things. One, if you could go back in time, knowing what you know now, and you were going to get into the business and go cold call all day, what would you do maybe differently in terms of your partner, and what are you looking for? What are top agents looking for in that upstream partner, whether it's a payment processing company, an ISO, whatever it might be.
So I will give them credit. Besides the issues I had with residuals and those disagreements, the support was good. And
Okay.
I'd say that is the whole reason I didn't instantly leave the industry when I wasn't doing well. Like I had good support. My manager would reach out to me and when I was doing bad, he goes, you know what? Like, shoot, give me your pitch over the phone. What are you saying? And then he goes, all right, you gotta stop saying this, try this. And then
Right.
it kind of started to click. So support is a huge thing. Yeah, everyone wants to make a bunch of money, wants a huge split. Everyone wants to do a friggin' 95% split. But if someone offers you a 90% split but zero support, you're better off taking a 70-75% with all of their support because
Right.
you'll make more money in the long run.
Yeah. Yeah. So you'll end up spending all of your time dealing with putting out fires. And it's like that's the thing I think
Exactly.
salespeople, one thing that always surprised me, I'd say like a big mistake that I see is that salespeople don't really value their time and specifically their prospecting time. They tend to think that like all time is equal, and it's really not. Like if you think about it, most salespeople, once they get going, right, they're probably spending like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours a day prospecting for new business if they're like really good. Um, and so when I tell people, I'm like, look, if you're making, $10,000 a month, all of that money is coming from those 2 hours a day of prospecting. And so if you don't have good support and you end up only able to spend an hour, you just cut your income in half by doing that. So, you got to protect those hours. So you need as much
Yep.
support, as you can get. Because it's like, it turns out that if you're really good at closing merchant accounts and you can sell payment processing, you kind of won the lottery in a way. Like right now, you're going to make a lot of money at that, but you have to actually go do it, and you have to focus on that. You can't allow yourself to get kind of pulled in different directions. Um, what is it like
So,
today for you? What are you doing now? So you mentioned kind of you made this transition. Talk about this transition to more of the management side. Why did you choose to do that? For one thing, that I'm curious about that. And then what is your sales cycle like today? You mentioned maybe going after larger accounts, referrals. So talk about that a little bit if you could.
so managing people is like a full whole different ball game because I can't get up and go knock the doors for them.
Right.
And if they've never been in this industry, they're not coming from a different ISO or just looking for a new partner and it's their first time, then they're going to get discouraged real quick if they don't have easy connections where, oh, my dad owns a restaurant. He'll sign up as long as we do the install properly.
Right.
Because we do have people like that where they have
Yep.
that instant connection where they go, oh, I can help you out and you're related to me or you're a good
Right.
friend. Let's just sign the paperwork, get it done.
Yeah.
So that's a big hurdle is motivating them and just keeping them consistently going out there. Once they close their first few deals, they that normally helps.
Yeah.
And
How do you, how
then
how do you how do you do it though? So what are you doing the first week or two while they don't have any deals done? Like how are you motivating them?
try to sell them the vacation. So try to sell them the vision of, oh, don't you want to just if you want to take a whole month off, just know that you got 10 grand coming in on the first.
Right.
Doesn't that sound good if you're sitting on the beach with your girl and you're like, oh, I don't have to work this week, honey. Don't worry about it. I'll prospect in a week or two, maybe. I got 10 grand coming in.
Right. Right. Yeah. That's cool. That's
And
cool.
then to answer your sales cycle now, it's it's less of door knocking and trying to get a quick sale within a week, more of find a large connection, see where we can plug in, if we can even get a meeting with them, and
Hmm.
then sit down, do a full demo, and go through all of their pain points and just really dig at it so we're a solid partner in their mind. And that
And
was
you
a big thing I like to say to everyone, even the small merchants. I would go, listen, I'm not trying to just sign you up and be gone. I go, I'm your payment partner in your business.
right. Right. We want a long-term relationship, you know.
Exactly. Well, and I tell them straight up, I'm completely transparent. I go, listen, if I don't make you happy, I don't make money. So my goal is to make you happy and have you be with me forever.
Right. Right. Yeah, I love it. So let's talk about integrated payments for a minute too, because you did mention that you were talking about, you're talking about the software, and so talk about that a little bit more. Like, what kind of deals are those? Are you working on actually like, developing software for software companies, and then adding in the payments? Like, talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. A few of them that I can mention, a lot of them I can't mention because
Of
they're
course.
still under development. And one that I can mention is this app. It's called Viro or Vero. I forget how they pronounce it, but VIRROW. And it's going to be, or it is, the first app where you can post your house on the app and someone can buy it with one click. And we'll be able to facilitate down payments with credit cards, debit cards, all that good stuff. So
So like a
that's
for
one of
sale
them.
by owner kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's no
That's
real
cool.
estate agent involved. It does all the paperwork for every state for you.
Hmm.
And instead of a real estate agent getting 5% commission, I think it is, it only charges you 1%. So you're saving a whole 4% on your house, which
Hmm.
is big money when you're dealing with selling a
Yeah,
house.
for sure. Wow, that's really cool. And so you guys integrated in, I would assume maybe even ACH into that, or is it just card?
Yep. Yeah. ACH and card.
Very cool. Okay. Um, all right. One last question for me here, and that, well, I guess two, but the first one is differential pricing. So we didn't talk about that yet. So I know you're in a state that tends to frown upon that a little bit. So, or at least an area that isn't quite as adapted to it. How did that go for you? As far as, was there resistance, or did it work out pretty well selling? It sounds like you were selling dual pricing or cash discounting or something, right?
Yeah, so that was with my first ISO. That was my main focus. Like they didn't even really train me on Interchange Plus, and I had
Right.
no clue what it was until just kind of going around and talking to people and then talking to
Right.
other people in the industry. And
Right.
then I went, okay, this is another way to make money. Why was I never taught this?
Right.
And it makes sense. Cash discount, you profit way more.
Right.
But I was doing cash discount, dual pricing. I mean, it just depends on what people want to call it. Some merchants would get confused and say, "Oh, I can't surcharge," and I go, "That's technically the verbiage by the law. It's a different program that we're doing." And it's just, I would tell them it's kind of stupid, but this is how the law is. If you change one word, it makes it legal. And so in New Hampshire, they don't care. You do whatever you want. They do not care. In Massachusetts, they allow cash discounting, but it's a little bit more strict. And then Maine is the strictest of all. That's the closest.
Yep.
That's one of the, what is it? There's like 5 states where it's illegal to do
Yeah.
surcharging.
Right.
It's one of
Right.
the ones where you have to have both prices on the menu. You have to clearly display they're getting a discount with the cash one. And
Right.
then the machine has to say it too, and the receipt has to say it. If you miss one step, the state of Maine goes after you, not
Yeah.
just Visa, MasterCard.
Right. And they're pretty serious about it. Yeah. So you don't really
Yeah.
want to get messed up with that one. So, wow, that's super interesting. So, all right, my last question here is, knowing what you know now, we talked about what you would maybe change going back, but what do you want to say to agents that are getting into the business today? What are the things, the mistakes that you see them making where it's like, man, if you could just fix one thing that all these agents keep doing that help them be more successful, what would it be?
Getting too hung up on someone that seemed interested.
Mm,
I've done it before too. Yeah, or two things. That getting hung up on people that seem interested because then you waste, like you said,
yep.
prospecting time is gold. You
Right.
waste too much time during your prospecting hours going back to this one person. I
Right.
tell them just go to the other businesses around and like sprinkle them in. You can just pop, oh, hey, I was in the area, wanted to say hi again.
Right. And then you
See if
don't
we
seem
can move
desperate. You don't
forward.
seem desperate either, which is nice.
Exactly. Your time's valuable.
Yeah.
And then the other one is being too eager to sign a deal when that merchant is super eager and it's a higher risk deal or they seem a little shady. Because I've had that
Yeah.
happen too, where underwriting actually saved my behind. This electrical guy who owned a convenience store, I was trying to get his convenience store, and he goes, "Oh, I'll sign up my trade business, my electric business." I said, "Okay, how much do you want? Like, do you want to do cash discount?" "Oh, no, no, no." He settled on like a flat rate of 2.9% and 10 cents a swipe. And he was like, "Oh, it's going to be 70 grand a month." And I was like, "Oh, this sounds like a pretty decent deal." And then the underwriting came back and said, "No, he's actually like red flagged from processing because of fraud." I went, "Wow, okay, thank you for that." And he was
Right.
super anxious. He was hitting me up almost like 2 or 3 times a day, every day. "Oh, what's going on with the underwriting?" I go, "Underwriting hasn't got back to me yet." And then I told
Right.
him, "Hey, they told me suspected fraud, so like I'm not working with you." And he like freaked out, got mad at me, and I was like, "Ah, it makes sense why he was in such a rush."
Right. Right. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. So that's good advice. Yeah. Definitely when you in this industry, when somebody is like super eager to work with you, unless you're offering them vertical specific software, um,
Yeah.
you probably should be on the lookout for that one. So it's good
Yeah,
stuff.
it's there's some shady people that know how to crack cards and just swipe them left and right. So that's where the chargebacks come in.
Yes, exactly. Well, Robert, this has been really fascinating. I always just love getting advice from people that are out in the field doing the work and managing the salespeople. For those who might want to follow you online or just learn more about what you're doing, anywhere you would send them to learn more.
Yeah, to learn more, you can always email me directly, robert@optechpay.com. If you want to follow my Instagram, it's my last name, Finella, but the first I is an X. And then LinkedIn is just my name. You can reach me on there. But we do have a lot of good tips, and we help agents all the time either get away from bad partnerships or help them close higher risk deals when someone else doesn't want to accept them. And we even help like conversations like this where it's basically like a little
Yeah.
training tips and tricks. I'll help walk people through it.
Love it. Good stuff. So that's Robert, and last name is Finella. It's Finnila. So, Robert, thank you again for your time, man. I really appreciate it. Wish you great success in 2025.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, James.
So, Rich, I'm always seeing your updates about the sales blitzes. Can you explain a little bit to our audience what is a sales blitz and why do you do these with your team?
Yeah, there are it's merchant services boot camp. That's the best way to explain it. And I'll tell you, it's exciting for representatives to go on these because they're there for an entire week. We do 4 of these a year, and I'm going to take you through a day, what it looks like. We come in on a
Sure.
Sunday and we meet at Monday at 7 o'clock in the morning. So what we're doing is we're teaching representatives what it truly takes to have incredible success in the industry. Some of our team leaders will say, "You're learning what Rich Norton has done for many years. And if you want to have great success, you need to do this too." So we start out with a motivational meeting and a sales training class from 7 to about 7:45. And then for the first day, Monday and Tuesday, we'll take some of our representatives that are inexperienced or brand new, and they'll watch professionals, some of our pros in the field, where they get a chance to see a full day of working with a pro. And then we certainly encourage them to get out in the field Tuesday, Wednesday for the rest of the week. We meet up at the end of each day and we'll have a little Q&A. Tell us about your day, what happened, and then we'll correct some things that they need work on, and they'll go out there the next day. At the end of each evening, we at the end of each day we'll have a dinner, a fellowship dinner, and everybody kind of gets together and meets and has fun. We encourage everybody to go to bed early. This is not a party. We'll celebrate on our winning trips. Get up early. We're going to do the same thing, and we do that Monday through Friday. Wednesday, we'll do a barbecue right at the hotel. A lot of us, we have some guitar players. We'll play some guitar, have a nice little fellowship, and it's a great week. And I say that representatives learn more in this one week than they probably would for 3 months. And everybody, in the last day, this is what we do. Everybody will say, what they've learned. We do this on Friday morning. We have it on video, and they'll share what they've learned. And it's exciting to see representatives that were struggling along or writing a couple. Now they're consistent and
Right.
going to that next level. So we do these 4 times a year. I cover the expenses, the hotel, the dinners, the breakfasts, they're all covered. We tell representatives, all you got to do is just get there. For some representatives, we'll fly them there, but they got to have a car. and we just say, get ready for this week. You're either going to say, you guys are nuts, I never want to do this again, or you're going to say, man, this is awesome. And that's what everybody says. This is awesome. We want to be part of this winning team. Now I know what it takes. And when they go back home, because I start out in the beginning, I say, are we going to brainwash you? Yes, we're going to brainwash you. But when they come back home, whole different attitude. And we say, take this program and do it Monday. And this is why you're going to have success. This is how you're going to have success.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Well, Rich, for those who are maybe looking for more of that team environment, they think it's an interesting idea to go on a sales blitz, and they might want to learn more about your team. Where can they reach out to learn more?
Absolutely. Reach out to me at 904-434-4635, or you can email me, payrock, Rich Norton, Payroc, Rich Norton at gmail.com.
Excellent. Rich, it's always such a pleasure. For those that watch the video version that have noticed that Rich and I have had the same outfit on for the last roughly 8 weeks. Obviously, we record these in segments and in groups, but Rich, it's always a pleasure having you on. Thank you for taking the time to share these insights with us over the last few weeks. And then, of course, today talking about the sales blitzes. So we appreciate your time as always.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Okay, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is suing Early Warning Services and 3 of its owner banks for failing to protect consumers from widespread fraud, something the agency said arose from the early warnings rush to market back in 2017 with Zelle. The 3 banks cited in the lawsuit are 3 of the nation's largest: Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase, and Wells Fargo. The CFPB is asserting that Early Warning and its owner banks, in a rush to compete with non-bank payment apps like Venmo and Cash App, dropped the ball on consumer safeguards. As a result, customers of the 3 named banks lost an excess of $870 million over the network's 7-year existence.
Wow.
The lawsuit describes how hundreds of thousands of consumers who filed complaints alleging fraud perpetrated through the network were denied assistance, with some being told that, this blew my mind, some being told to contact the fraudsters directly to get their money back. The lawsuit cites several violations of federal law by Zelle and the 3 banks. For example, it alleges Zelle left the door open to scammers by way of limited identity verification methods, thus allowing fraudsters to quickly create accounts and target Zelle users. Early Warning and the banks also have been slow to restrict and track repeat offenders, CFPB alleges, failing to share information about known fraudulent transactions between network member banks. The banks also have been accused of violating the Electronic Funds Transfer Act and Regulation E by failing to properly investigate Zelle customer complaints and to take appropriate action in the face of fraud and errors. The Consumer Watchdog Agency's lawsuit seeks to halt the bank's alleged unlawful conduct, make refunds to consumers who were scammed, and impose civil money penalties. It's worth noting that Zelle immediately pushed back on the allegations, describing them as factually flawed, and the network claimed the timing of the lawsuit appeared to be driven by political factors unrelated to Zelle. Here it's worth noting that when Trump was president in his first term, he pretty much mothballed the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. He put Mick Mulvaney in charge of it, and Mulvaney was wearing 2 hats. One of them, the other hat was director of the Office of Management and Budget, which is far more important job. And they really didn't do much in the way of issuing any kind of lawsuits or
Right.
slaps on the hand or regulations. And so, in the waning days of 2024, a lot of activity has been coming out of the CFPB. My feeling is that they're trying to kind of get their stuff out before the door closes.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems reasonable.
Yeah, and I think that's what Zelle is referring to here.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be very interested. That one we've been following for a while, and I know you've done a few different ones over the year, and it's like it's an ongoing problem for them for sure. It'll be interesting to see how it pans out.
Yeah, it really will.
Yeah. Thanks, Patty. Appreciate it.